It's day 2 of the NFL draft, so let's talk about the best available prospects on the board, starting with number 1 on mine, Cooper DeJean. I was a little shocked that he didn't go in round 1 because, I mean, he gives you that versatility. He can play outside, inside. He can play safety. I personally like him as an outside corner. He's got that speed. He's got a great build. He's got good play strength. So I don't know. Maybe the NFL just doesn't know where he will be, like, project ultimately. But man, there's going to be some talent to start day 2, legitimately. And we're going to stay with the corner position with Ladd McConkey. I really like me Kool-Aid, but for like the last few months, it's been Kool-Aid, probably early second round player, and ultimately that's probably where he's gonna land. So I was a little discouraged. I mean, to be fair, the corner class kind of fell, and I think that's because the NFL probably sees the corner class a lot closer together. I mean, shoot, I think I came out of here with like 25 corners I love from this class, so I'm not too shocked to see that he actually fell out. Same with Jackson Powers-Johnson. He's number 3 here on my board in terms of best available. The NFL, man, centers, they just don't get no love apparently. But I expect him to go very, very highly in round 2 because this dude plays like he's drinking piss and vinegar, man. Dude is awesome. Jer'Zhan Newton, wasn't too surprising that he fell because it sounded like the NFL didn't love his size and probably saw him, his skill set, his body type more as a early to mid second round value. So he fell. I didn't include him in my predictive mock. Matter of fact, let me comment. I had 29 players that I predicted go in the first round. I think the only 3 guys were Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Leggett, and Bo Nix, man. I had Bo Nix to the Broncos for so long. And right there at the finish line, I switch it up. What the hell? I mean, regardless, I think I would have probably had Michael Penix then if I switched it. But I don't know. I think I did well in my last predictive mock, especially considering what happened last year with me and my picks. But Adonai Mitchell at number 5, kind of thought he might come off the board when the Chiefs picked Xavier Worthy. Could have thought maybe he could have came off the board where Buffalo had a pick there too. And then, now it's Carolina. Maybe Carolina moved up in the first round. Take him, slap that 5th-year option on him, or have the ability to. Why he falls? Maybe it's the effort thing. Some people are a little turned off by that, I didn't run at full speed during all of my plays. And his excuse was, well, I wanted to stay on the field the whole time. So plays that I knew weren't coming to me or directed my way, I didn't run 100%. It's a dumb excuse. It's something, hey, that's not going to cut it in the NFL. I think he knows that. So I don't think that's it. Maybe it's the diabetes thing popped up, but I don't think that's going to be a big problem either. So it's going to be fascinating. Ladd McConkey, he's number 6, best available. I think something popped up with, was it the back or the leg? I can't remember that he got flagged at the combine for, but I expect him to be off the board relatively early. Though Mason McCormick, he's my 7th best player available, but he's someone I expect maybe to go maybe in the 3rd round. Like, I love Mason McCormick. He's a guy that I just kind of fell in love with at the Shrine Bowl, but I understand where the NFL probably will be when it comes to him. Going back to receivers, though, Keon Coleman at number 8, not shocking. Teams are going to worry about the separation issues, but they know they got a guy that, you saw him during the gauntlet drill. The man's game speed is really good, so you just kind of got to work on the nuances when it comes to route running. At number 9, I have Marshawn Kneeland. He could have been a surprise first-round pick. Instead, I ended up going with Darius Robinson. Got that one. But not to the right team, though. But still got it. Still got him in the first. But Marshawn Kneeland, man, I just love that how much power he plays with. That whole mentality of I'm gonna enforce my will upon you. I just love that, and he provides some versatility with that body as well. Kingsley Sumatea coming here at 10. Bit more of a project at tackle. It didn't shock me that he didn't go in the first round. He was getting some love, though, to potentially the Chiefs at 32. but I still was like, I feel like the NFL is still going to view him as a project, and day 2 is a much better fit for him anyway. Edgerrin Cooper is my top linebacker in this class. No linebacker went in the first round. Didn't surprise me. He brings length. He brings speed. Someone that probably needs to work on the nuances of coverage, but he's got a lot of traits that you're going to like. Let's keep rolling with, I got Zach Frazier, center out of West Virginia. Mountain Mama. But yeah, I mean, this dude is like, if you were to picture an offensive lineman in your head, this is the guy. This is like the whole lunch pail, clock in, clock out, does his job, grizzly man. So I expect him to probably come off the board like mid-second round. And then Trey Benson, my top running back in this class. I'm a bit higher on him than the general consensus. I honestly think I would say I think the franchise guy, Marcus, is higher on him than I am. I think he should be the first running back on the board, but I'm not going to put my money where my mouth is because, again, the NFL's crazy. The NFL is crazy. DJ Tampa coming here at 14. I love the length, the size, and the just the quick feet. I think he's more of a zone-heavy type of corner, so might limit the locations he can go to, but still love the heck out of him. Michael Hall Jr., he was a bit of a riser later in my process. A lot of that had to do with him putting on the weight, now up to basically 300 pounds. But you look at the pass rush win rate, it's just utterly insane. If you could learn a little bit more discipline in terms of the run game and just keeping gap integrity and whatnot, I think he's going to be someone that's going to be off the board real quick as well. I got my linebacker too, Peyton Wilson. Kind of the big thing with him is lacks ideal length, but he's fast as hell, plays mean as hell. But you got a lot of the injuries, like the shoulder injuries. He has, I think, a couple of ACL injuries. So there is that injury red flag there. And I'm actually pulling this from my draft guide. If you don't know, check out the link in the description. But yeah, a little red flag there means, hey, check out the eval because there's something that might cause him to fall. Jalen Polk is a guy I probably expect to fall as well. He just is a good wide receiver. I don't think he's got wide receiver 1 potential, but I think he could really stick in the league as a very solid number 2. He's got that inside-outside versatility. He could win on all 3 levels of the field. Big fan of him. Then I got Mike Sainristil coming out of Michigan. He's a slot only, but he's one hell of a good slot. I think he's probably going to be more attractive to man-heavy defenses, but still, man, a guy that can create, can create turnovers. He's got those ball skills. And then at 19, Rook Arahara out of Clemson, another project type, and kind of right up there with, I would say, like a Chris Jenkins. He's a little further down on my list, but I really do like the potential. He's just very raw. Roman Wilson at 20. I think he's a vertical slot in the NFL, but another guy I expect to hear his name called relatively early, somewhere early to mid second round. And then Jaden Hicks, my first safety on this list at 21. I love the size. I love the athleticism at that size. There is some boom bust potential with him in coverage, but I think in terms of all around, he's kind of got it compared to the rest of the safety class. Junior Colson, linebacker 3, and then I think the linebacker class kind of takes a dive after that. But compared to like Cooper and Wilson, he brings that hard-nosed, physical thumper. Love that. Then Christian Haynes, I loved him at the Senior Bowl. I loved him last year. I had him as a third-round prospect, I think, last year before he decided to return. You love the athleticism, plays with good leverage there as well. A couple of corners here, Max Melton out of Rutgers and Ennis Rakestraw Jr. out of Mizzou. Melton, I feel like, is more or less scheme dependent. I feel like he could really fit any scheme. Very good athlete with good ball skills, while Ennis Rakestraw, well, I think he could play press. I think I kind of like him better in off coverage, honestly. And someone that might end up being more of a slot player at the next level, because of his size, his long speed. I got Chris Jenkins here, 26 player on my current big board in terms of best available. And kind of similar to Rook Orohoro, a guy with a lot of the traits, but I think he's a little bit more clean, more technically sound as a run defender than Rook, but I think Rook probably has the bigger ceiling. Jonah Ellis at 27. Little undersized, lacks ideal length, but he's twitched up as hell. Golly, go turn on some highlights if you want a quick diagnosis of a Jonah Ellis. He's got the pedigree. His dad was a NFL player. His brothers are NFL players. I think he's going to be a good NFL player, even if he ends up just as like a DPR option. At 28, Malachi Corley, just a yak machine. That's what he was at Western Kentucky. Won't surprise me if any team that gets him wants to like run him at running back a little bit. So people get that Deebo Samuel feel, but it's not the same size, not the same type of player. At 29, I have Renardo Green. I think he's one of the better press man options in this class. Plays tough, can be a little too physical, but I'd rather take a guy who is overtly physical and teach them to kind of reel it back rather than someone who just doesn't have that in their nature. And then I have Troy Franklin out of Oregon here at 30. The ball skills, that's kind of the biggest question for me when it comes to Troy Franklin. Like, what the hell's up with these ball skills? They were great in 2022, and then they fell off a cliff in 2023. I'm kind of hoping that was just kind of a hiccup, and it's not something that'll be a consistent problem in the NFL. On top of that, you kind of want him to put on more weight, but also one of the younger guys in this class. I got Chris Braswell, 31. I just like him. I like him a lot. Little raw as a pass rusher, but very good run defender. Plays with a lot of strength. Kamari Lassiter here at 32. I think he can play outside, play inside. I don't think he's very scheme dependent, but you do worry about the actual play speed. Testing at 4.64. Not many corners can cut it in the NFL at that speed. And then Kamari Lassiter and Kieran Amagaji, we could kind of talk about these guys as a pair, because essentially they are tackles with great size, great length, great movement skills. But there's some concerns. There's some like lack of polish there, whether it's like Paul with his hand placement, attacking with wide hands, leaving the strike zone open, or Amagaji who just didn't play top tier talent. And then Javon Bullard here at 35 out of Georgia. I actually like him quite a bit. I think he can play in slot. I think he can play a traditional safety role. We saw him do it at Georgia this past season, and it was quite good. This is another guy that plays way bigger than his current play size. Braylon Trice got up to 259 for his pro day. Did come in at 243, and it's like, I'm pretty darn sure he was playing at 270. So I was like, kind of like, what's up with that? Not the most explosive, not the fastest guy, but another guy who kind of just plays with that piss and vinegar. I got a couple of guards here in Christian Mahogany out of Boston College and Cooper Beebe out of Kansas State. I think those are two guys I maybe could hear their name called a little bit earlier. Maybe Beebe, because it seems like he might be a little bit better of an athlete, though you won't be able to tell from the film, which is kind of nuts. Not that he was a bad athlete on film. I just didn't think he had that in him, you know? But Mason Smith here at 39, someone who has incredible tools at 6'5", 308 pounds. Played only 1 year as an interior player because he missed all of 2022 with, I think it was an ACL, may have been an Achilles injury on the celebration against Florida State. But someone who's unpolished, but golly, there is a lot of upside there. There truly is. At 40, I got Tyler Nubin. Was a little let down by the lack thereof athleticism. Didn't think he was like a great athlete on tape, but I thought he was definitely better than what he tested out at. Caused him to fall a little bit on my board. I got Jalen McMillan out of Washington. He's a slot guy, but he is a guy that can attack the field at all three levels. Very crafty route runner and can have that home run speed if you really need it. Adisa Isaac, edge out of Penn State here at 42. Man, this dude is explosive, man. He tore up the Senior Bowl, but I do have concerns with the size. Can he hold up in the run game? Might be more of a penetrator than he is someone that can set the edge. Just don't expect that from him. Now I have some running backs. 43, Jalen Wright out of Tennessee, kind of a home run hitter. And then Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. Really only have 1 year of production from him because he was kind of stuck in a backfield that had Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson. But he had a breakout year this past season and kind of feels like more of this like jump cut and go type of guy, but he's displayed really good vision. Roger Rosengarten, tackle out of Washington, could end up playing guard, but just a good player. You do worry about the anchor a little bit. Really only showed up, though, against Michigan. Devon Baker, I like quite a bit out of Central Florida. I think he's got good vertical ability. He's shown some yak ability on screens. I think he's a better route runner than what was asked of him at Central Florida. But in this receiver class, I could see him kind of like slipping maybe to the 4th. Braden Fisk. I'm not that high on Braden Fisk compared to like the general draft community. They love Braden Fisk and his explosive first step and just the ferocity and violence he plays with. I think he's a bit of a bull in a china shop. Could sometimes see those pass rushes fizzle out because he doesn't really have secondary moves or counter moves. He's just kind of throwing everything at you at once and sometimes will kind of work himself out of the play or find himself on the ground. And then Austin Booker, edge out of Kansas. Interesting tools, undersized, needs a lot of development. Very raw, but someone who can really pay dividends down the line. And then I have Rabbit Taylor Demerson at 49, safety out of Texas Tech. I love this dude's athletic ability. I love the ball skills. Just a little undersized and just sometimes just doesn't do the best job in the run game, but still a very solid player. I mean, I have Cole Bishop right below him, who is kind of the opposite. Really good size, comes downhill with a head full of steam, wants to hit you, wants to make a play on the ball, but don't know if he really has that like center fielder potential. Then at 51, Jermaine Burton out of Alabama. Really the biggest knock on him is the red flags. And it's not the whole, oh, he hit a fan in the head, swiping a hat off their head. No, it's the whole, at Georgia, he really apparently clashed with the coaching staff. That's kind of a bigger red flag for me than, okay, in a loss, you were frustrated and knocked a hat off the head of a fan going by you. I think people kind of overblew that a little bit. But the guy honestly had first-round potential. I say has, but you do worry about, again, some of the character stuff. Bo Limmer, I'm a little bit higher on him than the general consensus. He tested out phenomenally, I think, in his transition to center this past season, especially during the second half part of the season. He really started taking stride. Can be overpowered at times. We saw what Devondre Sweat did to him, but it's Devondre Sweat. He's going to do that to a lot of guys, but I'm a big fan of Limmer. Ben Sinnott is my tight end 2 in this class and more athletic than you would expect. Just feels like a natural ball catcher, honestly, and can play in line and will give you all that he's got. Could be a little bit more technically sound as a blocker, but I'm A-okay with him. Blake Corum here at 54. Tested well. You worried about the explosiveness coming off the MCL injury, along with, I think it was like a meniscus in 2022. And it did seem like in the 2023 season, that did slow him a little bit. Like the numbers weren't quite as good. And I'm not talking about yards or like touchdowns. I'm talking about like yards after contact, forced missed tackles. Those numbers were drastically down. But he goes, that's well. I really like the vision. I think he's a good complementary back in the league. Like I think he could be like a high-end complementary back. Then I got Theo Johnson. Tools. That's essentially what it is with him. He could be a big red zone threat. Is he going to be more than that? We'll see, but I think I'd be willing to swing on the tools of a Theo Johnson. Blake Fisher at 56. Another guy with a lot of good tools. Just kind of needs some polish to his game. I think he'll probably go somewhere in day 2 relatively early. Then I got Spencer Rattler. Hello, here at 57. My next tier of quarterbacks. Guy's got a good arm. Really does. Can he work inside a structure? He didn't really get the chance to because South Carolina's offensive line sucked. It sucked so bad. I got Jarvis Brownlee Jr. out of Louisville, and I kind of want to mention him with the guy under him, Andrew Phillips out of Kentucky. They're very similar prospects to me in terms of not necessarily what they're going to be asked to do. That's kind of where they differ, but similar size in terms of the athleticism. I'm going to say Phillips is definitely a better athlete, but Phillips feels better in a zone heavy, coming downhill, like off coverage, while I think Brownlee is more of this press man guy. And then at linebacker, I have Edifon Lefaucheux out of Washington. Absolutely love this guy. Tested out way better than I expected, but played his first full season this past year. Is an older prospect. I could see him slip into day 3, truthfully. Cameron Kitchen, safety out of Miami. Boom, bust. Not ideal athletically, but honestly on the field, I think it's fine. And it's just, he's really high risk, high reward. He had a lot of blown coverages this past year, unfortunately, for Miami. Dominic Pooney out of Kansas, guard. He played tackle this past season, but guard's probably his home in the NFL, and he showed he could maybe play center from what we saw at the Senior Bowl. Malik Washington out of Virginia. He's a slot receiver through and through, just lacks ideal size. Good athlete, great yak ability. Really is. Kalen Carson, corner out of Wake Forest. I think he honestly could play in whatever scheme. Problem I had with him was just his ability against more physical receivers. Like, he's got that dog in him. He will play. He will fight. But against more physically daunting receivers, he did struggle quite a bit. On top of that, not a guy that really gets his head around to make a play on the football. Tanner Bortolini, I firmly believe he's going to show up in round 2 or 3 somewhere, because he tested out amazingly. He was a very solid center this past year for Wisconsin, and he has experience all over the line, though from his metrics, probably best aligns there at center. Sorry, it's real late, and my mind ain't working so good right now. Johnny Wilson, what is he in the NFL? I think he's going to try to stick it as a receiver, but I think if he makes a transition to tight end, he could be like Darren Waller-esque. I mean, that's my comp for him. Trevin Wallace, linebacker in Kentucky, a guy that's very toolsy, but shouldn't see the field early. He just shouldn't. Like, he doesn't have the nuances of the position of linebacker down yet. He's just not a cerebral player yet. He will be a bust, I would say, if you start him early. But you could have your hands on some legitimate gold if you actually take your time with them, which, I mean, most linebackers kind of take time to get acclimated to the NFL. We'll go over a few more here. I got Brandon Coleman here at 68. Guard, could play tackle. He's got the size and the length to do it. He did it at TCU. Also played guard, though, at TCU. Showed flexibility on both sides of the football. I like him going probably somewhere in the 3rd round. Tez Walker here at 69. Nice. Vertical threat. Not a guy with the biggest route tree. You worry about the hands. And we'll see, man. We'll see. Showed some yak ability. You like what you saw in terms of the GPS score. Just constantly fast on the field. Constantly. Got Kalen Bullock, safety out of USC, probably one of the only true center fielders in this class, and you're kind of hoping he could put on more size. Like, if you see that red, that means, hey, not ideal weight, not ideal height. So if you see red under one of those metrics, that's kind of what it means there. But he's a guy that has been putting weight on the last couple of seasons, and he does play with that dog in him. It's just too many times he has been out physical. Let's just put it that way. Nehemiah Pritchett. I like Pritchett quite a bit, man. I moved him up my board quite a bit late in the process. I like, he can play press, but I think I like him better in off coverage because I really like his click and close ability. I got Datavion Sanders, tight end out of Texas. I don't know if he could handle the physical aspect of the NFL. He definitely played at like 230, 235 there at Texas, allowed him to, like, he's a really good receiver, man. And it's just like up at 245 athletically, wasn't that impressive at the combine. So I'm kind of concerned in some aspects. I'd rather take that shot maybe later in the third round or even early day 3. Cam Hart, I love the length, I love the size, tested out well. One of those guys that can get a little too feisty and could be flagged early, but this is a good corner class. This is a really good corner class, man. Devondre Sweat, I have at 74. And really, it should have been maybe talked about late first or somewhere in the second. But you have the red flag of he was a party animal early in his years at college. And he was trying to say, hey, that stuff's behind me. That was my freshman and sophomore year. But then DWI in the build up to the draft, not a great look. Teams aren't going to want to take that risk. So he's a little further down here on my board. Cedric Van Pran Granger, center out of Georgia. Just a really good center. Like, this is a really good offensive line class in general, but especially when you get to the interior. There's a lot of good prospects. Muhammad Kamara, this would probably be the... I'll talk about him and Jer'Zhan Jones to wrap up my list here, because I feel like that's a lot of players. That's a lot of players we talked about, and we're going to be talking about some of these guys when I come back around to my best available on day 3. But Muhammad Kamara just lacks ideal size. He's at 6'1". He's sub 250. Doesn't have ideal length, but he's jacked to the gill, plays strong, plays explosive, plays fast. I love the motor on this cat. And then Jer'Zhan Jones, I think ideally he's a slot, but he has outside experience. I think probably play outside if you really need him to. But again, the breakout year came in the slot. I'm going to be viewing this cat as a slot player. Plays very physical. I like that about his game. But let me know who are some of your best available for day 2. And I'm going to be streaming day 2 later today with my good buddy Alex from Hail Mary Sports. So join us for that. But as always, until next time, be easy, my friends. Later.